9440.
4405.
9445.
Hello and welcome. I'm John Garlick and I'm here with Sheriff Matthew Wade, and this is Calhoun County's Most Wanted. Sheriff, how are you?
Always good to be on the show, John.
Well, you know, you don't look tired, but you should be, because your folks arrested a lot of folks last week.
We did 9 arrests. You know, got so many couldn't even put them on the same screen, which is always good. Brings the count up to 4,820 people arrested, all because somebody was willing to help us out. And community safety is just that. It takes the community to be safe, so we can't do it alone, and we have to have your help. And we're honored that you trust us with information, and we'll do our best to protect that. So thank you.
Well, speaking of being honored, I think the community honored you this past week.
They did. They called me, and Anniston Star called me and told me that I'd won most voted on public official
Look
for
at
the
you.
community. And I didn't know it was going on, but definitely honored and humbled for the community to think that about me. It's kind of, people that know me kind of makes me feel a little awkward. I'm an extroverted introvert, but I do appreciate that and do my best to serve our community and be your sheriff and always try to protect that that distinction and honor and not to let people down. So it's humbling, and I appreciate it very much.
Well, it's nice to get that feedback, except for every 4 years you get that
Yep,
feedback,
absolutely.
but it's nice to get it here and there. Well, the community does think highly of you and everything you've done to the sheriff's office. And
well, we want to serve our community, and we want, I want to serve our community, and I want our sheriff's deputies to serve our community, and I want it to be done honorably. In a time that's difficult for law enforcement, we want to make sure we do everything we can to make sure our citizens understand that we're there for them. We don't exist. They don't exist for us. We exist for them, and we need to make sure that our guys remember that, and we serve people with honor and integrity. So.
sheriff's offices, community policing since day one.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
But,
Well, we're going to take a break, and we'll be back with the first half of the lineup. So stay with us here on Calhoun County's Most Wanted.
Scammers are now taking advantage of people's increased economic anxiety. One of the latest ploys is to phone unsuspecting victims and pose as representatives of utility companies. A scammer may identify themselves as your local power company. They may be able to identify your account number and even your name and address, but that does not mean they are legitimate. They may claim you are past due and your services are about to be shut off. Do not let the implied seriousness of this call frighten you into making a quick decision to pay. Instead, hang up the phone, then contact your local utility company directly using the phone number listed on your bill or on their website. Speak with a representative to check on your account. Never give your banking information over the phone unless you have placed the call yourself to a phone number that you know is correct. Utility companies do not demand your banking information by email or phone. They will not force you to pay over the phone as your only option. Any reputable company will never request payment by gift card, reloadable cash card, wiring money, or cryptocurrency. Some of the requested cards could be MoneyPack, Vanilla, Google, eBay, Amazon, or even an iTunes card. But you should know that there are still many more variety of cards the scammer could suggest that you use. If they ask for payment in any form of these cards, it is a scam. For more information, you can go to ftc.gov or call me, Nancy Hilton, at the Calhoun County Sheriff's Office at 256-236-6600.
Welcome back to this week's lineup. First up, we have Tedrico Armstrong of Anniston, Alabama. Failed to appear, assault in the first. Stephen Hoff of Hansonville, Alabama. Failed to appear, assault in the second. Duntai Dyson of Anniston, Alabama. Probation violation, assault in the second. Michael Bentley of Anniston, Alabama. Failed to appear, assault in the second. Manufacturing a controlled substance. Warren Ware of Anniston, Alabama. Probation violation, burglary in the second, robbery in the first, kidnapping in the first. Lucas Havens of Sylacauga, Alabama. Failed to appear, assault in the first. If If you have any information about these cases, please call the Sheriff's Office at 256-236-6600.
Welcome back. We hope you saw somebody in the lineup that you know, or at least know where they are. And if you do, call the sheriff. He will come get them and add them to the 9 he caught last week. We're here with a really cool guest, my dear friend Pete Conroy, who is the most connected man in the entire world. If you need something, Pete's got it somewhere and can arrange
the commercials,
it.
the most interesting man.
He is that's the guy. That's
the
Pete.
guy.
Creator of the frog
Totally
pond.
set me up for failure.
We
now,
did.
Right? Nothing they say is true.
There's almost nothing I can think of that you didn't have your hands and feet in. Frog Pond, the museums, gosh, all the way up to our current thing, which is the Freedom Riders Institute, right?
Well, my dad, rest his soul, used to say the world is run by people who show up for meetings, you know, and I think everyone can learn from that because it's true. I've shown up for a lot of meetings and had the chance to work with a lot of really wonderful people and wonderful communities, and you guys are among the top of my list, and it's an honor to work with you and visit any day.
Well, we're glad you're here.
Thank you.
And so tell us about your newest project.
Well, certainly not my project, but it's community effort, but it kind of has a national sort of an appeal right now. And I'm going to go back a little bit to Little River Canyon, and that was a National Park Service project. And years ago, folks were against it, and some were for it. And next thing you know, we were able to navigate and thread some needles and establish the Little River Canyon as a unit of the National Park Service. And we were able to build a building and create economic impact. And even during COVID, we went from about 500,000 visitors to nearly 1 million visitors. It's 900,000 plus.
Wow.
And it has an enormous, economic impact. Some say 20 million, some say more than that each year. And thinking about the National Park Service's involvement in a beautiful place in Alabama lended itself to the National Park Service's involvement in an important place in Alabama, and that's downtown Anniston, and that's Gurney Avenue. And likewise out in the county about 4 or 5 miles away, they called it the burning bus site. And of course, we're talking about the Freedom Rider story. Well, I sure didn't know that all of those important things that changed the history for the United States, that they had happened right here in Calhoun County. So community leaders, as many of y'all know, worked together with our elected officials in Washington and the White House. And bam, we have now Freedom Riders National Monument. It's a unit of the National Park Service. And it is honoring that important story when in 1961 blacks and whites rode together and wanted to see if the roads were safe for interracial interstate travel. And they had kind of a bad day in Anniston, Alabama.
Yes, they did.
It was Mother's Day 1961, and some say the flames that came from the bus that day were the flames that ignited the civil rights movement. Well, fast forward into the protests that the nation watched after killing of George Floyd. And then January 6th adds to the intrigue of a person's constitutional right to protest. And but the pivotal moment was when original Freedom Rider Charles Person called me up and said, "Are you watching TV on?" And I said, "Yeah, I'm watching." He says, "Those people don't know what they're doing. These people are not trained." He says, "Back in the day, 1961, we were trained not to be protesting at night. There were rules, and there was etiquette, and there was communication." And he said, "We need to do something." And so y'all know that was just a game on for me, and got on the phone with local DA's office, U.S. Attorney's office, friends over there at the CDP, and ends up working. We started working with NYPD, LAPD, DC, MPD, but also important that have been really engrossed in the civil rights movement, like Charles Person. And what we've developed is a curriculum, and we call it the Freedom Riders Training Institute.
Interesting. And that's nice because we do a lot of training here for McClellan. The CDP does crowd control training, or they used to.
They still do.
And
they do that across the nation for law enforcement. I'm trying to think of the actual term they use to teach that, but they teach how to deal with protesters as well. Luckily, we haven't had any of that here in Calhoun County. but still very interesting and good information to delve into. So.
And the source of the curriculum is a hybrid. It comes from protestors, it comes from law enforcement, first responders, elected officials, and so anytime you can meet in the middle to come up with a curriculum or a narrative, I think you reach more people. So our goal is to use these tools, and we're working with Brad Gilbert and JSU Realcast to put all of this curriculum essentially on a phone. So let's just say, I'll use John. Let's say you were arrested protesting in Hoover, after the George Floyd incident, and now you have a rap sheet. You got a sentence. Well, just like a DUI might be able to take driver ed training, the protester could take classes related to protests and whatnot and reduce your sentence. And so all of these discussions are taking place with some national applications.
Outstanding. Well, we're going to take a break here, and we'll be back to talk more about the Freedom Riders Institute. And stay tuned. We got the second half of our lineup, and come back with us here on Calhoun County's Most Wanted.
Welcome back to the second half of the lineup. We have William Spurlock of Lincoln, Alabama, bond revocation, reckless endangerment. Kiera Garrett of Talladega, Alabama, failure to appear, theft of property in the third, obstruction of justice using false identity. Teresa Elderbrook of Piedmont, Alabama, failure to appear, theft of services in the third. Bradley Hammett of Piedmont, Alabama, probation violation, possession of controlled substance. Pierre Taylor of Gaston, Alabama, attempted domestic violence in the second. Jimmy Fox of Anniston, Alabama, failure to appear, possession of controlled substance, obstruction of justice using false identity, aggravated cruelty to animals, theft of property in the fourth. DeMonte Miller of Talladega, Alabama, writ of arrest, attempted burglary in the second. If you have any information about these cases, please call the Sheriff's Office at 256-236-6600.
Welcome back. We hope you all saw somebody in that lineup that you might know where they are. Call the sheriff. We're here with Pete Conroy, man extraordinaire, Jacksonville State University, in charge of everything guy, talking about Freedom Riders Institute and where that came from and where it's going.
Thank you. Not in charge of much of anything, but happy to be at the table on occasion. But so the Freedom Rider Training Institute, which I was explaining, is a program. There's also a place. And, of course, the National Park Service, one of the acquisitions was the old Greyhound bus depot. And that's now a unit of the National Park Service. Everyone watching, that's their national park unit. And they're doing a great job of opening now on weekends with educators and music and information about the Freedom Rides. But across the street is next to Downing's, if you know where the Downing shop is, and sandwiched right in between Haynes Sewing Machine Shop is an old building. And we thought it would be a great idea to get that building to help to tell the story of the Freedom Rides in some way. And so the group that was established by Dr. Barbara Boyd, that I chair now with Freedom Rider Charles Person, called the Freedom Rider Park Board, we went ahead and acquired the building. And so now that building won't turn into something completely different than what is themed around the national park. And in fact, our goal is to turn it into a center for people to meet and talk about difficult issues like protesting. With the new federal courthouse right next door, it'll be a place for people going to the federal courthouse to have meetings without the high level of security that some federal courthouses have. So we're going to turn it into a public space, and it'll help to tell the story of Anniston and Alabama's important role in civil rights. But we hope it'll also add to the economy. Just like Little River Canyon has an awful lot of visitors, we think Freedom Riders will be similar. And good things will happen, and more restaurants will pop up, and hotels will pop up, and the economy will be driven by what's called heritage tourism.
I see. And you know, we were talking about the Institute and the training and how to train people to protest. What's the timeline on that? Do you know?
Yeah, in fact, we have a website up and running now, and we have a curriculum that's ready to go. So we're probably going to launch this within the next month. It has been in the making for over a year with weekly Zooms with this team, and it's been an extraordinary team. From technicians that are involved with digital education to architects, lawmakers, just a whole variety of people from engineers and with different backgrounds, but all wanting to come together to figure out the best use of this building and the best way we can have taken a pretty tough day in Anniston back in 1961 and make the best out of it.
Well, I think that's wonderful. It does. It moves it forward in history, and it does make the best out of it. And so people will start arriving here in the next month or two, then, you think, for these trainings?
No, I think first, in fact, let me say no.
Okay, no, that's it.
Initially, this is an online platform.
Okay.
And so, and COVID and the Delta variant hasn't helped us out a bit, you know. So this is a long-term process, and the redevelopment of this old building, again, I mentioned it was, I think, built in 1907. It's a fixer-upper, and so this will involve a lot of collaborations with the city of Anniston, the county, and partners from around the nation. But our goal is to make this fully restored historical building, but very functional and very modern in its applications.
Okay, so a destination for people. So our listeners that are thinking about building hotels and restaurants, when should they expect this facility to be open and people actually arriving? In a year, 2 years?
I learned a long time ago it's a rookie mistake to roll out a date, but in a perfect world I would say, already we have visitors from around the nation showing up there every day and listening to the recordings of Freedom Rider Hank Thomas and Charles Person, reading and meeting Park Service staff in the building. But I would say that it would be a couple of years conservatively before we can have an active presence there on Gurnee.
Okay, so Anniston growing slowly over the next couple of years with the federal courthouse and all the ancillary support things there. Federal courthouses, are they going to call on the sheriff's office for security? They use their own folks.
I think they use their own folks, but I think the federal courthouse will spur a lot of growth right around our other courthouse in downtown Anniston. I think we'll look back in 10 years from now and see that caused a lot of growth in Anniston.
Yeah, it's a bit of a civil rights judicial district. And I've had the honor and pleasure of meeting with Corey Mays, federal judge Mays, and he's very excited about his next door neighbor being Freedom Riders National Monument, and he's interested in a partnership. There's even the possibility of having Freedom Riders related exhibits in the federal courthouse, on the federal courthouse property. And so a visitor from somewhere else would kind of theme the whole area together, and that's good for the economy.
Excellent. Good for the economy. Anniston's growing. We can expect some monumental growth over the next 3 or 4 years, not in small part to what you've been doing. So thank you for being on the show with us.
Thank you, Pete.
We're going to take another break and be back with our crazy criminal here on Calhoun County's Most Wanted.
A break-in and entry of a vehicle occurred on July 18th. An onboard diagnostic code reader along with currency was stolen from the vehicle that was parked at a business location on Highway 431 in Alexandria. An unknown male and female were seen at the vehicle. At 4 a.m. on July 28th, a red 1997 Nissan Frontier was stolen from a location on Nisbet Lake Road in Jacksonville. An unknown white male was seen driving off in the vehicle. The truck was later found parked on the side of Mount Gilead Road in Jacksonville. The red Nissan tailgate, a bed liner, a Cadillac converter, and air breather were stolen. If you have any information about these cases, please call the Sheriff's Office at 256-236-6600.
Stupid! You're so stupid!
Crazy for feeling something. Anyway, well, so it is that time.
It is. This week's crazy criminal is Sean David Jones.
Davy Jones
Davy
of the
Jones
Monkees.
of the Monkees.
Yep.
No, but Sean was traveling on I-75 over in Georgia, around Canton, Georgia, When the law enforcement officers tried to stop him, he fled and was able to get out of the car and run off. But after he ran off, they found methamphetamines in his backpack. You think, well, that's not really that crazy. But he ran off and left a winning lotto ticket.
Ooh.
In the sheriff's office over there, put it on Facebook and said, "Hey, Sean, you've messed up and you've left your winning lotto ticket, but you're welcome to come to the sheriff's office and claim it."
That's nice.
That's nice of him. I
Yeah.
don't think he did, but you know, if anybody wants to be Sean David,
They could come get his lottery ticket
they might.
and bond out at the same. There's probably enough on the ticket to bond him
There
out.
might be, but he was a
Missing an
lottery
opportunity.
winner, and he left his winning lotto ticket in the car as he ran off, along with his meth. But he methed up when he did. But either way, this week's crazy criminal is, you know, if you got a winning lotto ticket, you got a lotto ticket, you just might want to check it.
You might want to check it along with your meth.
Yeah,
Well, thank you. Glad that you didn't mess up.
I didn't meth up.
And we thank you all for being with us this week on Calhoun County's Most Wanted. We hope to see you again next week, but not in the lineup, here on Calhoun County's Most Wanted.